This is Dan Seifert with MobileBurn.com, and today I'm taking a quick look at the Samsung Focus S for AT&T. The Focus S is the second of the two new Windows Phone 7.5 smartphones that AT&T has released recently, the other one being the smaller Focus Flash that we reviewed a couple weeks back. Now this one is a little bit more of a successor to the Focus from last year. It's a little bit higher end than the Focus Flash, and it features a couple of upgrades. Now, when you first look at it, you can see it's got a very strong family resemblance to any of the Galaxy S2 smartphones from Samsung, the Android-powered ones. Right here, I'm just going to do a quick side-by-side with the Galaxy S2 Skyrocket, which is an Android-powered Galaxy S2 smartphone for AT&T, and you can see the design cues are almost exactly the same, save for the slightly larger screen on the Galaxy S2. The Focus S looks almost identical, and if you removed the Windows Phone branding from it, you would be hard-pressed to tell a difference between the two. The two phones are almost exactly the same. The Focus S is slightly slimmer, similar to the global version of the Galaxy S2, but otherwise very, very similar between the two. So, now that that's out of the way, we can take a look at what kind of hardware we're looking at here. For starters, we've got a 4.3-inch Super AMOLED Plus WVGA screen. So like any Windows Phone device, we've got a WVGA resolution, so it's 480 by 800 pixels tall. At this resolution, or at this screen size, it doesn't really look too bad, since it is a Super AMOLED Plus screen. It does not feature the pentile layout, but it features a standard RGB layout, so the pixels are pretty sharp and crisp. And as with any Super AMOLED screen that we've seen, the colors are extremely bright. Viewing angles are almost infinite, as you can see there. Really great deep blacks, as you can also see, and looks great with the Windows Phone interface itself. Now, below the screen, you've got three capacitive buttons. So you've got a back, start, and search key. It's pretty standard for all Windows Phone devices. Up above the screen, we've got front-facing 1.3 megapixel camera, audio, earpiece there, and then a couple of light sensors. As with most Samsung phones, this does not have a notification light of any sort. Now, taking a look at the side profile, the Focus S is very thin. It's only 8.5 millimeters thick, so it's almost the same exact thickness as the global version of the Galaxy S2 or the non-LTE version of the Galaxy S2. This particular side has a volume rocker here. And if you notice, it sticks out pretty far from the edge of the phone, and we see that on the right-hand side as well, with both buttons here for the power sleep unlock key and the camera shutter key, which is a dual stage key, like on every other Galaxy or every other Windows Phone 7.5 smartphone. Now the problem with them sticking out so far is that they have a tendency to get pushed when you don't want them to. So if it's in your pocket or you just pick up the phone and grab it, you can activate the camera key quite easily and you'll launch the camera, which I noticed I've done a number of times during my review period. Now on the bottom of the phone, got a standard micro USB charging and syncing port and a microphone. Top is home to 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and another noise canceling microphone up there. Now if we take a look at the back of the phone, the Focus S has a textured back, but it's not quite as deep a texture as we saw on some of the Galaxy S2 models, but it is better than nothing, provides a little bit of grip to it. There's an 8 megapixel autofocus camera with an LED flash, so that's a significant upgrade over the 5 megapixel unit on the original Focus, or the Focus Flash, which happens to have the 5 megapixel unit as well. And then below the battery cover, we've got an external speaker. And if we pry open the battery cover here, you can get a look at the 1650 milliamp hour battery. Samsung says you should get about 6.5 hours of talk time or about 10.4 days of standby. So it's pretty much a single day battery. For my experiences, you're going to need to charge this up pretty much every single day. And then you've got a SIM card slot. There is no micro SD card expansion with the Focus S. It has 16 gigabytes of internal storage, but once you fill that up, you are stuck. Microsoft does provide 25 gigabytes of cloud storage with its SkyDrive service, and it does have the Zune music program, so you can subscribe to Zune for streaming music services for about $10 a month, if that's available in your country. The Focus S, just like it is mostly the same as other Galaxy S2 phones or other smartphones that are Galaxy S2 models, it's very light and plasticky. It's about 116 grams in your hand, so it's very lightweight, and it's comprised of primarily all plastic, so it does kind of have a tendency to have a cheap feel to it. Now, as with the Focus Flash, the Focus S comes with Windows Phone 7.5, or the Mango Edition pre-installed. So let's take a look here. Check our About Phone here. There we go. Windows Phone 7.5 there, pre-installed. And it's powered by a single-core 1.4 gigahertz Qualcomm processor and 512 megabytes of RAM. It's the same processor and RAM combination that was on the Focus Flash, and it seems to be the high-end Windows Phone 7.5 configuration for this year. It's the same processor and RAM that was on the Lumia 800 from Nokia and the HTC Titan. So all the high-end phones seem to be using that sort of combination of processor and RAM. It's very fast. Windows Phone 7.5's Metro interface, as you can see, snaps along very quickly with minimal lag whatsoever. Apps open pretty quickly as well, as you can see here. Let's load up mobileburn.com in our browser. The web browser is very fast. It snaps open our mobile website with ease. If we switch over to the full version of the site, you can see that loads up very quickly as well. Now, the Windows Phone 7.5 uses Internet Explorer 9 Mobile. It does not support WebKit rendering or Adobe Flash, so certain mobile sites are going to look a little funny in it because they require WebKit rendering. But for most desktop sites, they do load pretty quickly and pretty fast and nicely. And you can see here, pinch to zoom is effortless and quick. Double tap to zoom works very quickly as well. You can, of course, use it in landscape. And you've got multiple tabs. Let's open up a simple site here. And then you can switch between them with ease. So it's a pretty good web experience if you can get over the lack of Adobe Flash Player and the WebKit rendering issues that you might encounter from time to time. The Focus S features Microsoft's integrated SMS client that features threaded messaging as well as integration with Facebook Chat and Windows Live. It features threaded messages as we've seen before. It's the same Windows Phone 7 or Windows Phone 7.5 messaging client that we've seen before. It works pretty well. It is nice to be able to jump in between Facebook and other messaging services back and forth through SMS. But we would really like to see them integrate Google Live, or Google Talk, excuse me, and maybe AOL Instant Messenger as well to give a more rounded out experience for more users. Here we can see the Windows Phone 7.5 keyboard. Now during my testing period of this, I noticed that the keyboard tended to lag quite a bit on the Focus S, much more so than on other Windows Phone 7.5 phones that I've used in the past. Most notably the Focus Flash, which has the same processor and such, was much faster. I don't know if it'll do that now. But you can see how the sounds are actually kind of lag behind, and when you're typing a lot, I noticed that I made quite a few mistakes because the keyboard was not keeping up with my own typing thumbs. So that's probably something that Samsung could address with a software update, but it did get quite frustrating from time to time, especially considering the high-powered processor that this phone has. Now, Samsung and AT&T kept the pre-installed apps to a minimum on the Focus S. You've got a suite of AT&T apps here for Family Map, Navigator Radio, Uverse Mobile, and then down here you've got My AT&T, which is an account management app. All of them can also be removed too, so if you don't want them on the phone, you can free up some space by taking them off. The Samsung has also included the Now application, which offers weather information, stock information, and news information. So you can get updated news and weather at a glance there. And there is a home screen live tile for this that gives you access to weather information or whatever else you configure. There's our live tile there. Now, one of the other significant upgrades over the last year's Focus and the Focus Flash is the 8-megapixel camera on the Focus S. You can launch it with the camera shutter key, so if you hold that down for a second, it will open up into the camera mode. The camera focuses fairly quickly. It's the same focus or same camera as found on the Galaxy S2 models. It's not quite as fast as those particular phones though, more than likely because this is a single core processor as opposed to the dual core processors found in those models. But it does focus fairly quickly. You can tap the screen to focus, like so, and it will, anywhere you tap will instantly focus and then take the picture. Of course, you can swipe over and take a look at your photos immediately after taking them, and you can pinch to zoom, which is pretty effortless and quick. You've got controls over here. You can switch between the rear camera and the front camera. You also can switch over to video, and you've got a little bit of camera settings here, so you can control your flash, control your white balance, a couple effect settings, sharpness, exposure values, and there's a wide dynamic range setting and anti-shake mode. Now if we switch over to the video mode, one thing that has been bothering us since Windows Phone 7 came out is that video resolution always defaults to VGA, no matter what you had it set at the last time. So if you shoot in HD, you will have to remember to change it over to 720p HD each and every time. You can use the shutter key to start recording, and you got a big countdown timer there. Now the Focus S does not feature any sort of zoom controls while recording, so the volume keys just actually control the volume. And it does not feature continuous autofocus, so you have pretty much a fixed focus the entire time that you're recording, which is a little disappointing considering the Galaxy S2 models are capable of great 1080p video with continuous autofocus and zoom and all these other nice features, and the Focus S is limited to its 720p video with minimal features. So there you have it. That's a real quick look at the Samsung Focus S for AT&T. The Focus S is about as close to you can get of a Windows Phone 7.5 Galaxy S2. It features a very similar hardware design, same screen, same camera as the Galaxy S2 models. It does have a little bit slower of a processor. It's a 1.4 GHz single-core processor, since Windows Phone 7.5 does not yet support dual-core chips. But it is incredibly thin, 8.5 millimeters. It's very lightweight as well at only 116 grams. That 1.4 gigahertz processor makes the interface very responsive and snappy for the most part during most everyday tasks. It isn't terribly much faster than the older 1 gigahertz processors, but you do notice it from time to time when you are opening large applications or say opening an intensive game. A couple of issues that I did notice with the Focus S is that the on-screen keyboard tended to lag a little bit more than I would like, and the 720p video was not that impressive, even though the 8 megapixel stills are quite good. Now you can pick this up right now from AT&T for about $199 on contract. The issue is that the Samsung Focus Flash, which we reviewed a couple weeks ago, is a little bit smaller at only 3.7 inch screen and has a 5 megapixel camera, which is notably worse than the 8 megapixel camera on the Focus S. But it's only $49.99 on contract, so it's a significantly different cost, and it offers much of the same experience as it has the same processor and the same operating system. But there you go. That's the Samsung Focus S for AT&T. You can buy this now for about $199 on contract. This is Dan Seifert with MobileBurn.com.